Is there anything more epic than that moment when a character falls, but doesn't fall? When a dude is completely wrecked, beaten to hell, and still stands tall just to show he won't back down? Yeah, bro. We've put together 10 anime characters who died standing up, literally or symbolically. Those who, even in defeat, went out like total legends of determination. And let me warn you, if you're a soft-hearted otaku, get ready, because these scenes hit harder than a Saitama punch. But stick around till the end, because some names here are gonna give you chills, and you might have never noticed just how heavy these moments actually are. Let's kick things off with one of the most badass dudes of all time. 1. Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. One Piece Man. If we're talking about dying standing up, the first name any anime fan thinks of is the legendary Whitebeard, the man who literally didn't take a step back as he died. One Piece is that crazy pirate world where everyone's chasing the legendary treasure left by the Pirate King, Gol D. Roger. And in the middle of all that chaos, Whitebeard was a monster. A powerhouse who could literally split the sky with a punch and treated his crew like his own kids. During the Marineford War, the dude was old, scarred, and already half destroyed, but he still struck fear into the Marines. When the end came, he was riddled with bullets, pierced, burned. And you know what's insane? He didn't fall. His body stayed upright, and as the narrator put it, even in death, Edward Newgate's body did not fall. A true man, never turning his back on his fate. That's pure symbolism, bro. He died standing his ground, a proper ending for the strongest man in the world. 2. Itachi Uchiha, Naruto, Shippuden. Now, let's talk about one of the most tragic and complex characters in Naruto, Itachi Uchiha. This guy is basically the poster child for sacrifice. From the start, he was painted as the cold villain who wiped out his clan, but when the truth came out, everyone realized the insane weight he carried. He killed his own clan to prevent a civil war that would destroy Konoha. He lived as a traitor, hated by everyone, all to protect his little brother. In his final battle with Sasuke, Itachi was already dying, sick, exhausted, barely hanging on, but he fought with that calm, confident style, almost like he was teaching his brother one last lesson. In the end, he walks up to Sasuke, taps his forehead, the same gesture he used as a kid, and dies standing up, not collapsing immediately. That scene hits so hard because he didn't just die physically standing. He stood morally too. He never bowed to pain, hatred, or fate. 3. Jiraiya, Naruto, Shippuden. Speaking of Naruto, we can't skip the Ero Sennin, the legendary Jiraiya. Naruto's master, the guy who was a total joker, pervert, and funny AF, but also one of the most badass and human characters in the series. His death is one of the most emotional moments in the anime. When he fights Pain, the very disciple he trained, you can tell he already knows he won't make it out alive. Yet he doesn't give up, even with his body destroyed, missing an arm, bleeding out, and his heart on the edge. He keeps writing with his blood to send his last message about Pain back to Konoha. By the end, he sinks into the water, but till the last moment, he's upright in spirit. He doesn't give in. Jiraiya dies standing in essence, leaving one of the most beautiful messages in the series. True failure is giving up. The man became a legend, not just as a Sannin, but for dying like a real hero. 4. Portgas D. Ace, One Piece. Ace's death is another moment that traumatized an entire generation. One Piece has a lot of memorable deaths, but this one, next level. Ace was Luffy's older brother, a good-hearted, funny, and powerful guy, son of the Pirate King. During the Marineford War, he gets rescued, but at the last second, he puts himself in front to protect Luffy from Akainu's attack. The strike goes through him, and even fatally wounded, Ace remains standing for a few seconds. He smiles, looks at Luffy, and says he's happy to have friends and a brother like him. It's that kind of scene that absolutely wrecks otaku's inside. The contrast between the flames fading and his smile, heavy. He dies standing, literally and symbolically, as a man who lived free and died protecting what he loved most. 5. Escanor, Nanatsu no Taizai, The Seven Deadly Sins. Bro, Escanor redefines what it means to be insanely strong. In Nanatsu no Taizai, each of the 7 deadly sins represents a deadly sin, and Escanor is pride of the lion. At night, he's a skinny, timid dude, but when the sun rises, he becomes a literal human mountain, the strongest being alive. His presence alone changes the battlefield. His death scene is one of the most beautiful and emotional in the anime. He fights the most powerful demon, pushing the sun's power to its limit. The price? His body literally burns from within. Yet he doesn't stop. Even as he's being consumed, he stays standing, facing the enemy until he disappears completely. Escanor dies as he lived, chest out, proud, staring the enemy in the face. He didn't fall. He rose. 6. Maze Hughes, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Ah, Hughes. This one hits straight in the feels. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of the most complete anime ever. Plot, characters, philosophy, everything on point. And Hughes is that kind of character who wins everyone over instantly. A big-hearted dude, perfect family, always showing off pictures of his daughter. The kind of uncle you just want to have around. But destiny doesn't forgive, right? When he starts uncovering dangerous secrets in the government, he's ambushed and killed by Envy, one of the homunculi. The painful part? He tries to stay standing after being shot, trying to reach the phone to warn Mustang. Even in death, he's thinking about protecting others. His death is simple visually, but emotionally, man. It hits hard. Hughes died standing as a soldier, as a father, and as the moral heart of the series. 7. Jonathan Joestar, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Phantom Blood. Now let's go back to the roots of the Joestar family. Jonathan is that classic hero, noble, gentle, honorable, who opened the door to the insane universe that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And bro, this guy literally embodies dignity to the very end. During his final fight with Dio, the most charismatic villain in anime history, Jonathan sacrifices himself to save his wife, Irina. Even mortally wounded, he stays upright and calm, shielding her while the ship is about to explode. He literally holds the enemy off, prevents Dio from destroying more lives, and accepts his own fate with a peaceful gaze. Jonathan is the kind of protagonist who dies standing, not out of pride, but out of love. A true gentleman to the last breath. 8. Rider, Iskandar. Fate Zero. Now, if we're talking about dying with style, Rider, aka Iskandar the Great, is basically the textbook example of how a king should die. In Fate Zero, legendary heroes are summoned to fight each other for the Holy Grail. Rider embodies charisma, strength, and leadership. He's massive, impulsive, funny, the kind of guy you just want to follow into hell. When he faces Archer, Gilgamesh, the king of kings, he already knows he's about to die. But man, he doesn't back down. He charges forward on his horse, army of his spiritual soldiers behind him, shouting like a true warrior. The final blow strikes him, but he dies standing on his horse, smiling. He lost to no one. He ended his life the way he lived, courageous and proud. That scene gives chills to anyone who knows what having a warrior spirit means. 9. Kamina, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. If you've never screamed, "Who the hell do you think I am?" maybe you don't understand the weight Kamina carries. Gurren Lagann is pure energy, pure hype, where logic takes a backseat and heart rules everything. Kamina is the spark that motivates everyone. He's the guy who makes the team believe in themselves. During the big battle against the Beastmen, Kamina takes a fatal hit, but he doesn't stop. Even bleeding everywhere, injured to the core, he keeps shouting, piloting the mech, pushing Simon to never give up. When the final blow lands, he's still standing, smiling, victorious. Only after everything ends does he fall. Kamina is the kind of character who literally sustains the spirit of the anime, a man who died standing and lives forever in the screams of the fans. So 10, Thors, Vinland Saga. And to close it out, we have Thors from Vinland Saga, a name that carries as much weight as the meaning of a true warrior. The anime is set in the Viking era, full of battles, blood, and honor. Thors was the most respected warrior of his clan, but chose to leave it all behind to live peacefully with his family. Of course, the past comes knocking. When he's ambushed, he could have massacred everyone there, but he doesn't. He decides to sacrifice himself to save his son and companions. Even pierced with arrows, he remains standing, imposing, looking at the enemy with calm and dignity. He dies like a true Viking. No fear, no rage, just acceptance. That kind of scene makes you rethink what real strength is. Thors died standing because he had already transcended the idea of victory. See the pattern? Every one of these characters has something in common. They died without bowing to fate. Some literally died standing, others symbolically, but all left a legacy of strength and conviction. These moments aren't just sad, they're inspiring. Because deep down, each of these characters shows what it means to never give up, even when everything seems lost. It's about standing firm, living with purpose, and dying proud of who you were. And if you're into this kind of content, the stories behind the most iconic anime scenes, you already know what to do. Subscribe to Zen Otaku, hit that like button, comment which death hit you hardest, and which character you think should have made this list. Here, we don't just talk about anime, we live anime. And in the end, dying standing is exactly what every true otaku does when the episode ends, and you realize you gotta wait another week for the next one.